Captains of Industry, brought to you by Airtel.
Clifford Sacks is a banker with esteemed assignments under his belt. Previously the co-CEO of Merrill Lynch, he's also founded the SA Africa desk at UBS Warburg that was in New York. In his early career, he was a fund manager at Anglo-American Corporation and played a role in streamlining the company's assets. Clifford Sacks is our captain of industry tonight. Now, Clifford, we've spoken a lot about your new job as CEO of Renaissance, but we don't really know where you come from. Small town upbringing, then New York. Was it one of those bright lights, big city, daunting kind of experiences?
So I grew up in what was then Petersburg, is now Polokwane, in the Limpopo province. I think what the small town upbringing gave me was probably a good sense of community and family, as one has in small towns, playing in parks, no PlayStations, all that sort of thing. And then Johannesburg, I went to Wits. Did a BCom LLB. I set off on a CA road, and people ask me why I changed to law, and the truth is I sucked at accounts. So I went the legal route. I must say I never regretted that though, because I think law taught me to think in a reasonably lateral way. So went from university to Anglo-American. I spent 7 really good years learning a lot, learning a little bit about a lot of things at Anglo-American.
Right.
Fund management, trading, property, bonds.
That seems quite divergent from the law route. I'm assuming you studied some sort of corporate law as opposed to civil law.
I did an LLB, to be honest with you. Honestly, I left BCom, so I looked around, figured I had to do another degree, and I enjoyed the law. And I enjoyed the way that I enjoyed the thought process around law. I never intended to practice.
Okay.
So straight to the exchange, basically, or Anglo-American, which gave me a window to the exchange. So learnt a little bit about a lot of things at Anglo-American. Then I got a great opportunity, and as I said to you a little earlier, I've definitely been reasonably lucky through the course of my life. And I got an opportunity to go to New York on what we call the sell side, what was then Warburg. And start the South African desk, and this was some time ago. I spent a little time with Warburg, who then merged with UBS and moved out of town. I didn't want to go and live in the countryside in Connecticut, so I moved downtown to Merrill Lynch, which was then the World Financial Center. And I spent a total of 3 years, 3 fantastic years in New York. Never emigrated, never wanted to be there beyond 3 years, and along with a whole lot of friends and colleagues who had gone at around the same time from Johannesburg, we all more or less went back at the same time. And I came back to Merrill in Johannesburg.
Didn't want to live in the country in Connecticut, wanted to stay in the big city. You know, I don't like New York. I must be one of the only people in the world who just doesn't find it fascinating. I think it's congested. I think it's noisy. I think it's a little bit dirty. I hate the way nobody can call a cab for you. You have to hail a cab in New York. It's rough.
Well, it's the second time that you've been wrong today. I think New York is the greatest city on the planet. It's just got an energy, it's got a vibe. You know, I get back there as much as I can with my family on holiday. I mean, I want my kids to see this energy. And yes, you have to call a cab. And yes, you know, you basically, if you're at a revolving door, going through a door, no one's going to hold it for you. But I think there's an honesty to the Americans. There's an in-your-face honesty that I love.
That you find only in New York. You also read a lot of science fiction. That's again another place where you and I just have divergent views. I can't even watch the movies. Like I can't watch E.T. I can't tell you what that's all about.
Yeah, for me, science fiction is a great release. So a lot of the science fiction these days, by the way, which is poo-pooed by a lot of people like you, I'm sure.
Yes, we go to Cinema Nouveau.
Exactly, you know, so that's which I haven't got that kind of depth. But you know, is science fiction, and there's a lot of science behind it, and a lot of it is basically, you know, commentary on the world and the way it's going to evolve and develop. And look, it's just it's not something that a lot of friends and colleagues, it's not a passion that a lot of friends and colleagues of mine enjoy. In fact, I think I'm alone.
Is it escapism then for you?
Oh, totally. Absolutely. I want to pick up a book in the evening and not, sometimes, and not read about financial markets or, you know, anything hugely deep. Absolutely.
Okay, so I watch The Kardashians and you watch Avatar.
More or less, yeah, more or less.
Okay, how does that sort of help you with the escape?
Well, you know, it's a little, you know, there are various forms of escapism. For me, not being glued to a phone, you know, or not sitting at a dinner party making small talk on a Saturday night with 20 people. You know, we do enough of that during the week. You know, it's just thinking about, it's just literally closing your eyes and just being somewhere else for an hour and a half in a movie, or you know, figuratively speaking anyway.
Okay, so your favorite book or movie, science fiction?
You know, I loved Avatar. I love the Star Trek series.
Yes.
And I enjoy a whole range of books. I enjoy Isaac Asimov, Greg Bear. I mean, there's just a ton of them. I love just about anything science fiction.
You know, I don't understand anything you've just said there. Yeah. Okay. You also play poker.
Badly, yeah. And again, it's a bit of escapism. So, you know, if I can get someone to play with me once in a while, a couple of colleagues of mine are really good poker players. I get taken to the cleaners. But again, it's a little bit of escapism. Small stakes poker.
Okay, show me your best poker face. Gotcha. Who inspires you? Your son?
Oh, definitely. That's an easy one.
Why?
So I have two boys. I have a 16-year-old stepson, Max, and I have a son of 10, Buddy. His real name is Gabriel, by the way, but he's renamed himself Buddy.
Okay.
And Buddy is Asperger's. So he's on the high end of the autistic spectrum. So he's a very, what you might call mildly autistic. He is, he's super smart, and he's got a particular skill, as many Asperger's kids do. He's very, very, very good at one thing, and that's music. So you can put Buddy down in front of the piano, and he'll rattle off Beethoven's Ninth, or Smoke on the Water, or basically anything rock and pop. The only thing he hates is jazz, and he hates people who enjoy jazz.
Many people, when they think of autism, it's overwhelming for them, and they find it challenging parenting, which I suppose it would be, and they worry for the future of their children. Do you relate to any of that? Look, is it challenging?
Definitely. You know, this is a child who, the Asperger's aside, has the naughty switch set on naughty when he wakes up in the morning, and sets off to do whatever he can that he's not allowed to do. This is aside from the Asperger's. But you know, I think we get so much pleasure and fun and joy out of him, and he's unusual, and he thinks differently, and he does things differently, and he just, you know, he's enriched our lives massively. So, you know, do I regret 1 second, or would I change it for anything in the world? Never. You know, I love this child more than any creature on the planet. With due apologies to my wife, and
I'm sure she won't take offense. Talking about this autism, definitely I don't get a sense that it's something we understand very well as the Joe public in South Africa. I don't see many campaigns, you know, and I know you've got big superstars like Toni Braxton, for instance, who took a break from her pop star music career to focus on her autistic child, and she's been interviewed numerous times by Larry King and the like about this particular thing. Do you think you should lead the charge in many ways, raise awareness, use your profile to do that?
Well, it's quite an interesting comment and an interesting question. Autism and Asperger's have far more profile internationally than they do here. So, you know, I read things all day long about races. There was a race around New York last week, I think a canoe race, to raise funds for autism. There are autism awareness days all the time in Europe, UK, US. It's really not that well profiled here, but it gets a huge amount of profile internationally. You know, I think the other comment that I would have is, it's not that well understood. When you tell someone about an autistic child, people automatically think about Rain Man. They don't realize that that autism is a spectrum. And on the one end of the spectrum is low function autism, as in Rain Man. On the other end are people like Albert Einstein, Mozart, and my son Buddy, who you wouldn't know is Asperger's unless you spend a lot of time talking to him. And then you might sense there's something a little different about this young man. But you know, it's a lot of this is about education.
And thank you for using this platform just to educate me and those who are watching. Mentors and people who've inspired you in business?
I think colleagues. You know, I landed at Renaissance, and you know, I've been privileged to work with a lot of different people who've inspired me in different ways. And without wanting to name anyone, because I'm going to cause offence by leaving someone out, we've got a range of characters at Renaissance. And what I love about this organisation is it's massively cosmopolitan. We've got everything from Russian Jews to Nigerians to Ghanaians to Zambians, South Africans, Zimbabweans, English. We even got an Australian in South Africa, and all these different cultures bring with them different levels of intensity, different ways of approaching problems. It's been a huge amount of fun and a massive adventure.
And what's that taught you personally?
Definitely, it's definitely taught me to appreciate different cultures, to try and see things from someone else's shoes. You can be in a meeting with a Russian, a Ukrainian, a Nigerian, and you can watch people's body language, and you can watch conversations evolving in ways, in the most interesting ways. And I think the key here, by the way, is to try and see things from someone else's perspective. Different cultures are vastly different.
Thank you so much. You've been great, you've been accessible, and you've been very open about your family and something that's very important to you. And certainly you've taught me something today about autism. Thanks so much for your time. Clifford Sacks, who's the CEO for Renaissance, joining us here as our captain of industry. Tonight, he values the world that we live in by way of its diversity, its cosmopolitanism, but he also likes the simplicity of things, hence the poker and the science fiction. You've been watching a wonderful edition of Captains of Industry. Thanks for your time.